Colleagues, you're going to have to forgive me if I get just a little bit emotional about this bill. Thank you, Representative Gilliam from the Christmas Tree District. Thank you for your forgiveness in advance. I came to this building to do education reform. I came to this building to give choices to families. And for those of you who were here 2 years ago, this week was the worst week of my life. 2 years ago this week, I sat on the House floor and we passed education reform, and we passed House Bill 3645, which was my bill, and that bill would do multiple authorizers for charter schools. It said that a charter school application could go to a university or community college, and that they could seek that as an alternative sponsor. And 34 of us voted for this. It wasn't necessarily a completely bipartisan, but there were 6 of you still in this room who voted yes on that bill. This bill, 2153, undoes that. This bill says that for the people who have 3%, and they've already hit that 3% mark, that they don't have to follow that law. This bill exempts them out of something we just did 2 years ago in the worst week of my life, when I sat on this House floor and voted for that ed package with a whole bunch of the rest of you. And this bill undoes that, and I'm not happy about that. And I'm going to watch as 6 of you who voted with this are going to turn around and vote on this bill and undo what we just did. And if your vote is not your word, if our votes are not our words when we vote, and we can come back every 2 years and change our mind before our programs have had even a chance to really get going, then why are we in this building? I don't understand that. But this bill not only repeals House
Representative Buckley, for what purpose are you in the privilege queue?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to encourage the representative to not impugn the character or the breaking of word as a determining factor in a vote. I do think that crosses a line. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Parrish, please limit your remarks to the content of the bill before us at this time.
Thank you. Well, so I will go on to say that this bill not only undoes the bill we just passed in 2011, this bill takes it one step further. And it actually says we're going to break faith with the voters of Oregon when we sign the 1999 charter school law into effect. Because charter schools, by their nature, are about a groundswell of ideas from parents coming forward and saying, this is what we want our schools to do. This is what we want for our education system. And we have an idea, and we think it's a good idea.
Representative Buckley, for what purpose are you in the privilege queue?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to encourage again, defining another member's vote as breaking faith with the with Oregonians, again, is defining a member's motivation on the vote, defines their vote, and I would like to ask that votes on this bill not be defined in a character that is negative towards the members of this chamber. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Parrish, again, please limit your remarks to the content of the bill in front of us.
Thank you. And Mr. Speaker, I'm more speaking about when the governor signed the charter law in. So I don't know that there are members who voted on the 1999 charter law in this building, but I'm speaking about the governor's signature on the 1999 charter law, and he's not a member of this body. So this bill undoes charter school law. It takes the premise of how a charter is put forward and it changes the dynamic. It says now that the school board gets to decide what's good for those kids. And I asked Portland Public Schools, and you have a floor letter from them, and I asked them, how many of the charter schools in your district did you as a district sponsor? Because they said, this should be about ideas that the school board has. And then parents should do our charter. They should go out and do the work for us. And I asked, how many of these do you have? And their answer was none. We didn't sponsor any of these as a district-sponsored charter. There are parents who have charters and they've sponsored, but not Portland Public. And my thought is if you have a great idea for a school, go do it. You don't have to have parents do it for you. But this bill undoes what charters are about. So by saying that a school board gets to make that decision, and not a groundswell of ideas of parents who know what's best for their children. We are undoing that law with this vote today. And that's very disappointing. And you know, charter is not an R issue or a D issue, because I sponsored bills this year that, as a Republican, the Democrats in other states have sponsored. So I'm either a Tennessee Democrat or they're an Oregon Republican, because I got the same bill as people in Tennessee and as people in Nebraska, in other states who are sponsoring the same types of legislation I am, because it is about choice for families. And that, colleagues, is progressive. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it's about giving that choice to the families. This bill undoes that. This creates a winners-losers situation for 8 or 9 districts who are exempted in this process because they've already hit 3% of their population in this bill.
Excuse me, Representative Conger yields.
Thank you. I am bothered by that. And so when we pass this today, I won't vote for it, but if it passes, when it passes, that is broken trust, colleagues, with our communities and people who expect that as parents we should have choices for the best way to educate our kids. My child started a charter this year, and he was failing in his regular schools. And I got his report card yesterday, and there was only 1 F. I'm really thrilled, because the rest was A's, B's, and C's, and we went from all F's to 1 F, and that in 6 months is progress. And when he got to that charter school, I was told as a 7th grader he was only doing 5th grade math, and yet the regular school was progressing him along. So you know what? I respect the work of charters, and if charters have problems with test scores, it's because kids like my kid started that school and bringing everybody else's scores down. They deal with a lot of kids like my kids in those schools. So we have to have choices for families. This is the worst limiting choice bill that has come forward this session. And those of you who were yes votes on 3645 last year, I urge you to continue to support the concept of choice for families. You did it once. I'm hoping we do it again.